when you awaken, you become like a spoiled child of God. You become like a spoiled child of universe. Now, what do I mean by that? So people usually think that spiritual means become sacrificial, becoming, giving up on things, giving up on everything, and I don't know what. But and yes, one part of that is true. You give up on things fully. Basically, what happens is that many of the people do not really understand what sacrifice is. People sacrifice things, you know physically, but not mentally, so that's not really a sacrifice. So you have to sacrifice it in both ways, and you cannot force a mind. The more you force a mind to do something, it's going to do exactly the opposite. Okay, so to really make your mind sacrifice something, it's an art. You have to actually make your own mind a little bit fool. उसको थोड़ा उल्लू बनाना पड़ता है. ठीक है, so it's an art to act with your mind. So people usually give up on things in their 3D, but they're not able to give it up mentally. Okay, so yeah, so people actually sacrifice with half-heartedness, so that's not really a sacrifice. So what I'm really trying to tell you here is that both are spiritual. Sacrificing is also spiritual, and knowing that you deserve something, or being like a spoiled kid of God, or being like a spoiled kid of universe, and saying to God or saying to universe, I need this right now because I deserve it. you know both are forms of spirituality. There is no one way to spirituality. Okay, now, since I am experiencing the other one, since I'm experiencing being a little spoiled child of God right now, so I'm going to explain the second part, right? So, so let me start. Let me take you way back. Like when I was a child. Okay, so even when I was a child, I was such a sweet child. I mean, I would just not, ask God for anything because, you know, yeah, I would internally very well, try to build a relationship with God. And yeah, we all have our internal worlds, right? So I had my own internal world with God. And I will always be like, if I really love you, then I don't ask anything from you, right? Because the people we love, we don't ask anything in return, right? So that was such a sweet child. And now, and of course, I started walking my spiritual path, and like, it started back in, I cannot really pinpoint like this is the year where I really started, and if I really have to pinpoint a year, then maybe it's 16, it's on 16 or 17. So if yeah, from there on, from before that, my spiritual journey was very, very unconscious, and from 16, 17 become very subconscious. And in 2023, I really had my awakening, and my spiritual journey became very conscious, very, very conscious process. And it's yeah. And since 2023, when I really had my spiritual awakening, it's like I always explain spiritual awakening in the process of a boiling water. You put the water on stove, and gradually it boils and it gets warmer, and then it comes to a boiling point. So 2023 was that boiling point for me. It was like, what, the world is an illusion? It was like that for me in 2023. My eyes were like big wide open, and I'm like, okay, wait, are we totally living in illusion? We're totally living in matrix. There's so many lies. The world is full of so many lies. And you know how they say there are so many lies and just one truth? Yeah. So I had my spiritual awakening in 2023, and then I realized I deserve so much more. I started realizing that how matrix, how the lies, how the systems corrupt our thinking into thinking that we deserve less, or we deserve more than than we should. You know what you know what I'm trying to say? I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, there are okay, for example, you know, you will, let me give you a very easy example. For example, let's say a child born in a middle class family. So, people will try to tell him that you cannot have these dreams, you know, or a child born in a poor family, let's say, you cannot have these dreams, these are too high of a dreams, you cannot dream that big, you should settle for something less. Okay. And or you cannot spend this much money on things like these. Okay. or you or you should spend more money on things like these. Okay. And you know they are, मैं बचपन में एक चीज सोचती थी, and after my spiritual awakening, now I'm realizing I was such an intelligent child, and all my life I have, um I have blamed myself for being stupid. But now I'm awakening, I'm realizing I was always an intelligent child. In childhood, I always used to think that, all these people have this one damn chip in their brains and I don't have it. They all think the same, they all do the same, and somehow I don't get their programming. And somehow I don't, and I used to really think that God forgot to put that chip into me. But now I realized that no, that chip, that programming is of lifetimes of programming of the matrix, you know, and somehow I have been a little intelligent and little closer to God, and it's not that I've not ever been programmed. I have, you know, but now I am coming out of those chains, out of those foundations, and that is what Matrix creates. Matrix creates those foundations. They try to tell you, or yeah, they try to tell you. They try to tell you you can. Okay, let's say a poor. Okay, let's say, what happened. I was reading about this restaurant. So this restaurant did not let, you know uh, okay, so somebody did like, a prank. Okay, what do we call it? Like, yeah, they did a social experiment. Yeah, that's a right word. So what it did is they weren't wearing such a good clothes, a little bit stained and stuff like that. And they wanted to go inside a restaurant and eat. Okay, having those. So they were just trying to experiment whether we will be allowed entry or not, though we are ready to pay, though we have the money. Okay, so he was having some coins and he was having, little notes, so it was like, collected from a begging bowl. Those were the kind of possessions that he had. One rupee coins and like 5 rupees coin, and then, so all he had the money to pay to the restaurant, this 5-star restaurant, and he wasn't wearing such good clothes. But then, he did a social experiment whether he'll be allowed or not, when he is completely ready to pay. So he wasn't allowed. They try to tell you, these systems try to tell you, that you deserve less. You deserve unhealthy food, or, because you are poor, you should stay, you should not, yeah, you should not, you know I don't know what. And or maybe you're rich, you should have more clothes in your wardrobe. Okay. Yeah, you should have more clothes in your wardrobe, you're such a rich person. Why is your, so they have this one, everyone has this one damn chip in their brains, and it is so frustrating sometimes to deal with. Once you start awakening, it's an other level of pain to be with the unawakened ones. Totally, it's another level of pain to be with the unawakened ones. And but yeah, yeah, they have ideas of, they all have this chip. Oh god, I used to think like that in childhood, and then I used to, I used to put myself down. Oh god, Yashasvi, like, what are you, thinking, or, what are you saying? I mean, you sound so weird. I used to have these thoughts in my mind, and then I used to shut myself down for having these thoughts. But I just made so much sense. Everybody's having this one chip in their brain. Okay, when it comes to health, when it comes to beauty, they're so programmed over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. Yeah. And now, cut to 2025, and I'm become like a spoiled child of God, like a spoiled child of universe. I'm like, I need this right now. You know, this money, the illusion that they have created cannot decide, okay, that I deserve this or not. The illusion of beauty they have created, that cannot decide, whether, if I'm not following their standard or their version of beauty, they cannot decide if I'm looking beautiful or not. Their, their version of health, that they have created, it cannot decide whether I am healthy or not. You know, I'm cutting all these cords, with all these outside concepts of health, money, and beauty, and and so much more. And I'm coming back, and I'm sensing my own intuition, you know, and I feel like a spoiled child of God. I feel like I deserve this. I feel like I deserve that. I feel like I deserve these. I feel like I deserve those. You know, and I've started feeling this way. And I totally feel now this programming, this chip that everyone has in their head, they are nobody to tell me. You know, and I need this not in. Okay, after awakening, I have started to feel like, like I am a tree in the ecosystem. I am one of the tree in the ecosystem. So I deserve sunlight, I deserve water. If someday government decides that, oh, this is an, let's say this is an apple tree is less than an orange tree. Orange tree is a much more bigger tree. Orange tree is, is high in status, and apple tree is low in status. So let's say one day government decides that, and it decides that apple tree will get less of sunlight, will less of water, and orange tree will get more of it. So, I mean, that's totally stupid, right? So I have become like that, apple tree that is now waking up and understanding that I need light, I need water, and I need it for myself, but also for the ecosystem or for the community that I am in. You get it? Because there are many lives are dependent on that apple tree as well. So the matrix cannot decide that I don't deserve more. You know, so yeah, 2025 is bringing in that frustration. You know, like I cannot deal with this old energies now. I want it out right away. And I'm feeling like, and I've never been this spoiled child. I'm feeling so impatient. I feel like I need it right now, and it has to be done right now. But yeah, I mean, this is what awakening does to you. This is true awakening. You know, it's getting a little difficult for me to, stay into the present. That's what happened when a snake shed its skin. It is half in the past and half in the future. It is so impossible. It must be so painful for that snake to, you know to create space for the present, because it's half in the past, it's half in the future. It wants all the new things. It wants, it feels a pull towards the future. It feels a pull towards the new things that he is aligned with, new life that he is aligned with. At the same time, he feels so frustrated with the past, with the old energies, with this matrix programming. Each thing feels like a burden, each thing feels like a pain, each each thing feels like a needle in your skin, the thinnest needle in your skin. Yeah. It must be so difficult for, a snake when it shed its skin. It would be so difficult for him to be in the present, because it's half in the past, it's half in the future. Future is calling it, and the past is, eroding and destroying itself, and he must be feeling such a disgust for the old, in the old programming that has lived in and accepted, and thought that it was stupid, to think that that old programming was somehow correct, and yeah, it just such a pain. Old becomes such a pain, and the new, you feel a rush, you feel a pull towards the new, and it's just so difficult for you to be in the present. And of course, it's exactly here that you build a muscle, spiritual muscle, for getting into the present. It's exactly here where you build the spiritual muscle for being in the present. It really tests you, it really tests your patience. Yeah, that's just all I wanted to come here and share with you, that awakening just, how awakening can really look like. Awakening can also look like this, that you don't you don't awakening can also look like this, that you realizing that you deserve so much more, and any concept of anything should not come in between. The concepts that are